creative friends, it's Gwen. Are you looking for a way to make your crafting faster, easier, and more enjoyable? Imagine you're sitting on the couch scrolling Pinterest and inspiration strikes. You have some time and you're ready to craft. You head into your craft room, but it's a mess. There are projects and supplies all over the place. Before you make anything, there is some serious organizing that needs to be done. But how do you make sense of the mess? It's easy, and I'm going to show you how with something called zoning. When you think about zoning, you might think about land and councils and how they go about dividing the city into zones and areas. You can use this idea in your craft room too. Consider your craft room the city, and you get to be the council, allocating zones based on the activities you'd like to do and the supplies that you have on hand. Zone 1 is your work zone. This is the space that you have to actually create in. It's super important to keep this area clear. You want to be able to sit down and create the moment inspiration strikes. No one wants to have to clean and tidy just to be able to create. For me, my work zone is this large dining room table. I work very hard to keep it clear of clutter and ready to go. Zone 2 is the area that supports Zone 1. This is where you'll keep all the supplies that you use all of the time. For me, this zone is a Raskog cart filled with all of my scrapbook essentials. I also use this space to store items that I'm actively trying to use up. Keeping them here reminds me every time I create to get them onto a project. They are also within easy reach. I'm far more likely to go to those supplies than have to get up and grab something from another area of my craft space. Having this space allows you to more easily keep Zone 1 clear. Next, we need to chat about zones 3, 4, and more. These zones will differ crafter to crafter, depending on the types of projects that you like to make and the supplies that you have on hand. To give you some examples, I've broken up my room into these zones. Scrapbook collections by manufacturer. I store my scrapbook collections in this shelving unit and these inexpensive plastic tubs. I mainly group by manufacturer, but I do have two exceptions, and those are themes, Christmas and boys. I have a designated zone for silhouette. In this zone, I store my silhouette Cameo 3 and 4 and everything I need to create with cut files. This might include cutting mats, cutting blades, and even pre-cut designs ready to go. I sew on every project that I make, so it's a must for me to have a sewing zone. I keep my sewing machine set up and ready to go. While we are talking sewing, I also enjoy slow stitch. So I have a zone for that. These two boxes right here store all the supplies I need for my slow stitching craft. I like to do my slow stitching when I'm away on holidays, so it's super convenient to be able to grab these two boxes and have everything I need. Here is my card making zone. I have purged a lot of supplies so they all fit in this cubby here. I've simplified everything and it really is all that I need. I do have all of my stamps stored in a large box. I don't reach for them very often, so they're on top of my IKEA shelf. Having them up high and away is a really great option for me. I wanted to show you this area because it's a great example of the container concept. This cubby here is the allocated space that I have for card making supplies. So once it's full, I'm not able to bring any more into my space. Remember, you're playing council, so you need to manage the areas and the space you have wisely. The next zone I have is for Sizzix die cutting. I keep all of my dies and embossing folders in these two drawers right here. Embossing folders are stacked here and the dies are stored in these very clever plastic sleeves. I'll be sure to leave links in the description box below in case you're wanting to set your craft room up in a similar way. These drawers are where I keep my mixed media supplies. The only exception to this rule are Glimmer Mists, and that's because the bottles themselves are too tall for these drawers. I always wanted to be the girl who could do all the mixed media things. Turns out, not really, and I am working on purging these supplies and keeping the things that I truly love. So now that you've seen the zones in my space, you might be wondering, how can you go about creating these zones in your craft room? I have 3 easy steps. Step 1 is to group like items together. It's far easier to manage items when they are grouped together, and this will actually naturally create a zone. For example, grouped mixed media supplies becomes a mixed media zone. In step 1, don't worry too much about what your zones will be, just focus on grouping similar items. Step 2, looking at your grouped items, identify the types of supplies that you have and the activities that you do with them. You'll notice some items are better grouped by the actual supply. For example, pattern paper, which is used in scrapbooking and card making, is better grouped in the category pattern paper, whereas fabric that is only used for slow stitching can be grouped in the activity slow stitching. You can then add in other supplies used for slow stitching to that zone, such as button and thread. Step 3 is to finalize your categories and allocate a space in your craft room to store them. To take this to the next level, apply the container concept and let the size of your space determine the number of supplies that you get to keep. Zoning your craft room can help you better appreciate the value of the things you have. It can help you identify similar products that you're storing. This is one of the key principles in Marie Kondo's book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. If you haven't read that book, I'd highly recommend it. There's a link in the description box below. By seeing all of the similar items in one place, it can help you better assess what you need to keep and what you can let go of. This can lead to more intentional buying decisions and also help in the decluttering process. If your craft room is in need of major decluttering, the zoning technique might not be for you just yet. You'll need to do a purge of supplies first, and this can be really overwhelming. I know it's really hard to know where to start, so I have made a step-by-step video that I'm sure will help. I keep things simple and I promise we can do it together without making a big mess. Check it out right here, and if you need any more help, there are some more links in the description box below. Thanks for being here, my creative friends, and I'll see you all in the next video.